So in my previous video, I went over one of the strongest gold farms we've ever seen in Diablo 4 using a new event that's currently going on in Season 11 called Mother's Blessing, where it gives you a big multiplicative increase to experience gains and gold gains. The previous video was on gold, so in this video I want to go over the experience portion, because using this season buff not only is made probably the best in-game gold farm we've ever had, but using the experience portion I think has given us the best experience farm we've ever had in Diablo 4 as well. And just to give you a small glimpse, I was able to get from Paragon 270 to 271 in right around 18 minutes, and that was not optimal. I'm sure you could get it down to like 15 minutes or probably lower if you're doing it with a group. Now, first off, let's go over the experience buffs. So first off, we have the Mother's Blessing buff. This event is going on until January 20th, so you only have that long to farm it, but it is a 35% increase to experience, and that is multiplicative, so that is an absurdly strong experience buff. Then you can get another 8% from your advanced elixir, which pretty much everybody uses at all times. Then you can get another 5% from incense. Keep in mind, while you can have 3 incenses on at a time, you only get a 5% experience buff no matter if you have 1 incense or 3 incense. You get the additional stats, just not the additional experience. And then you can also go do a Forgotten Wisdom Nightmare dungeon. So the affix on the dungeon would be Forgotten Wisdom, and somewhere within that dungeon there will be an XP well that gives you a 15% increase to your experience gains for I think 2 hours, and that affix is pretty common on Nightmare Sigils, so you should be able to get it pretty easily. And this well seems to spawn just randomly anywhere within the dungeon, so you don't actually have to complete the dungeon, and it could also just be right at the start. So 8% from elixir, 5% from incense, 15% from the XP well, and 35% from the Mother's Blessing buff. But that brings us to the method we're going to be using to actually farming this experience. And as you probably guessed, it's going to be boss farming. Farming pretty much any boss on the boss ladder is the best way to earn experience. But there is a few caveats with this, and some bosses are much better for experience than others. First off, don't farm Belial. Belial doesn't actually give experience, and that's specifically the Belial that you go and summon yourself and fight. The Belial that can randomly proc after defeating any boss ladder boss, that does give experience. I'm not sure if that gives its own experience or if that experience is based off the specific boss you're fighting, but that'll just be some additional experience on top of everything else. So don't go and fight the normal Belial you summon yourself. He doesn't give experience. But for a general roll on the boss ladder, the initial bosses, or say the tier 1 bosses that all take 12 of their material to summon, those give a less amount of experience than the end bosses. The end bosses specifically being Andariel, Dariel, and the Beast, and the starter bosses being everything else besides Belial. So that's the general rule, but one of the bosses is actually still bugged, I think, and that's Uravar, who is one of the starter or tier 1 bosses. For whatever reason, he gives the same amount of experience as the end bosses. So if you have a bunch of keys for Uravar, go and farm him first. Also, he's one of the fastest spawning bosses, so not only does he give more experience, he's just like the best boss to farm in terms of speed. So he's the first and most efficient you can do. Then after him, it's really just going and doing the end bosses. I don't actually know which end boss is the best. I think Dariel is the slowest. I think Andariel might be the fastest or second fastest, and Beast is somewhat similar to Andariel. I think Andariel is actually the fastest, even though her death animation is a bit long. So I think it is Andariel, the Beast, and then Dariel. But unless you have a crazy amount of keys or you kill bosses super slowly, you're going to run through your keys on these pretty quickly, unless you're doing it in a group and everybody could just cycle their keys. So realistically, just go the bosses I just mentioned in order of efficiency, and then once you get done with those keys, just go do all the other bosses. The other bosses may give less experience, but a lot of them are pretty fast, and they're still giving a lot more experience than you can get pretty much anywhere else. I don't even think like the pit or anywhere else is even close to even the first tier of bosses. And a few things to note with this. First off, to get the experience from these bosses, you just have to kill them. You don't have to open up the chest, but if you're solo, you won't be able to resummon the boss unless you open the chest or go reset the dungeon, and going and resetting the dungeon is just super slow. So I definitely recommend just going and killing bosses you have the keys for. But you can also do this in a group where only one person can open the chest at a time. And if I'm not mistaken, it usually just gives like a small timer before the boss is able to be resummoned after the first person opens the chest. So you can just do this with a group of people. If it's with your friends, you can all cycle and everybody can AFK or something, and one person that's opening can kill and open, or do whichever rotation you want to do. I know there's probably groups out there doing rotations. So doing this as a group is going to technically be the best, but that's only if you're in a group specifically looking to experience farm this. But other than that, you can just do this as a solo, and the amount of experience, as we've gone over, is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's close to like 8 million experience I was getting from facing the beast, and that's absolutely ridiculous. Again, even if you don't have the strongest build, you can kill these bosses in Torment 4 pretty quickly. And like I mentioned, from 270 to 271 Paragon, which is at the higher portions of Paragon, so they're usually really slow, took about 18 minutes, and that wasn't being optimal on the beast. In fact, if I was in one of my stronger builds, I think I could probably do that in like 15 minutes if I was being as optimal as possible. And then going and doing something like Urovar, you could probably get that down a few minutes as well. I would not be surprised if doing this as efficiently as possible, doing it on Urovar, if you could getting a level at around that Paragon to like 12, 13 minutes, something like that, I could very much see that with some of the strongest builds in the game. So you have until January 20th to do this farm if you're looking to finally get 300 Paragon in a season, or if you're just trying to play more of the season past when this event is active and you just want a higher Paragon to try out more builds or something. I would recommend farming right now. I don't think we've ever seen as crazy experience gains as we have right now boss farming in season 11. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.
They were nothing. Did you truly think all of this would be that easy? You think you've won?